This week's module will focus on concepts of forest protection, including the control of damage caused by forest insects, tree disease, and wildfire. Forest pathology, entomology, and fire science are each complex and varied disciplines. But what I've included here, as broken into 2 lectures within this module, provides a broad overview of each. Essentially, this is just a starting off point. You will likely explore these topics in greater depth later in your education and later in your career. Two terms that you will hear during the course of this module are forest pathology and forest entomology. Forest pathology refers to the influences of disease on trees and forests. Forest entomology refers to the influence of forest insects. These are 2 important terms that we're going to explore in greater detail here. By definition, a tree disease is either a non-living factor or living organism that negatively affects the structure or function of the tree. Non-living agents or non-living factors that may result in tree disease include drought, adverse temperatures, hail or ice. All these things can cause damage and not allow the tree to function as it should. Microorganisms in the form of fungi or bacteria are the most common biotic agents of disease. What these abiotic and biotic factors have in common is that they all impact the tree's ability to conduct the physiological processes necessary for the tree to survive. That essentially is disease. So remember, a tree is diseased once its ability to function is hindered by some external factor. And abiotic factors, or non-living factors, are common causes of tree disease. This can manifest in a variety of ways. Moisture and temperature extremes may limit a tree's ability to conduct photosynthesis by altering moisture or oxygen availability. If nutrient levels are too low, a tree cannot create new plant tissue. High nutrient levels, nutrient levels in excess of what is a normal level may be toxic to a tree or toxic to a given plant. The presence of toxic substances, including heavy metals, sulfur oxides, nitrogen oxides in the air or water, can result in tree disease as well. The term mechanical injury refers to the physical damage of the tree structure by any means. That could be physical damage as a result of a hailstorm, an ice storm, physical damage as a result of a skidder running into it during a logging operation. Really anything that causes physical damage can result in an inability of the tree to function as it's supposed to, and again resulting in disease of that tree. Biotic agents, or living organisms, account for the majority of incidents of tree disease. Any biotic agent that causes disease is referred to as a pathogen. The most common pathogens include various types of fungi, bacteria, and viruses. Though viruses are technically non-living, we still kind of group them in with this category. We're going to focus here solely on fungi, as they generally have the largest impact on forests, and their presence typically results in the most incidence of disease as a result of a biotic agent. Fungi do not produce their own food. They require plants or trees to do that for them. What they do is utilize enzymes to break down organic material and absorb the resulting nutrients from that process. When the organic material is dead, this could include branches or foliage. That's decomposition, right? That is the breaking down of dead organic material, typically on the forest floor. It's the process of rotting. But when a fungus acts on living material, what results is a parasitic relationship. The fungus benefits while the tree becomes diseased. Because of the presence of that fungus, the tree cannot function as it was designed to. So now we're just going to work our way through several common diseases caused by fungi in the eastern United States. A fungus may adversely affect the foliage of a tree, the stem of the tree, or the roots of a tree. The example here, brown spot needle blight, is a foliage disease caused by a fungus common to longleaf pine in the coastal plain. As you'll see on all of these slides, the common name of the disease is given with the scientific name of the causal fungus in parentheses. You're not going to need to remember each specific fungus, just the diseases that they cause. Young longleaf pine seedlings remain in what's referred to as a grass stage for an extended period of time. It's really an adaptation to frequent fire of the ecosystems that they are present in. The needle blight essentially top kills the seedling repeatedly and forces it to stay in this grass stage for an extended period of time, eventually reducing the growth of the tree and possibly resulting in seedling death over an extended period of time. So that was just an example of a foliage disease that's caused by the presence of a fungus. There are several fungus-induced stem diseases that are referred to as rust diseases. They're really named for the orange color of the spores produced by the fungus. Fusiform rust is an economically important tree disease, particularly in the southeast, because of the species that it damages. This disease affects southern yellow pine species, specifically loblolly pine and slash pine, arguably two of the most economically important timber species in the southeast. Really two of the most economically important timber species in the country are most susceptible to damage. The life cycle of this fungus requires the presence of oak species, which act as an alternate host for this fungus. Though the fungus is native to North America, it's become an increasing concern as we've come to rely more heavily on plantation-grown southern yellow pine for our fiber needs. Plantations with one particular species growing at a time. Typically, and we'll talk about this a little later in the lecture, stands like that are more susceptible to widespread damage because any disease that affects that species is going to kind of tear through the entire stand all in one shot. This disease causes spindle-shaped galls at the point of infection. The infection essentially girdles the stem, damaging the vascular system of the tree. The disease is most damaging of young trees less than 10 years in age that still have relatively narrow stems. The annual financial loss to landowners as a result of this fungus is estimated to be around $28 million. And so that's on average $28 million a year in lost revenue to landowners because of the damage caused by this fungus. Because of this, forestry researchers have put a lot of time and financial resources into studying this disease. This research has resulted in the development of seedlings through traditional breeding techniques that are less susceptible to the disease. And so these seedlings are typically chosen for reforestation projects following harvest to sort of ratchet down the risk of fusiform becoming established in the stand. This slide here just illustrates the presence of the fungus on loblolly pine, a small loblolly pine tree on the left, and on the foliage of black oak, which is on the right-hand portion of the slide. Again, black oak is one of the alternate hosts that are required for this fungus to complete its life cycle. Disease also results when a fungus actually colonizes the vascular system of the tree. Wilt diseases are one such group of diseases that result when the movement of water is inhibited by a fungus present within the xylem of the tree. Remember, the xylem is what's transporting the water throughout the tree. This disease is really most common in the central and northern hardwood regions, affecting red oak species primarily. The fungus may spread from tree to tree by root grafts or through a stem injury as well. Trees wilt essentially from the top down within the crown and from the tip of each individual leaf to the base. Death typically occurs within the year if this fungus is present on a tree. A disease that that spreads, or a fungus that spreads by this method, this root-to-root grafting method, is really difficult to check. And it really relies on the establishment of a barrier, either a physical barrier or a chemical barrier, being placed between individuals. If there's two individuals of the same species in close proximity, it's typically the disease is typically most devastating in ornamental or landscape settings where individuals of the same species are planted one right next to the other, and where physical damage due to pruning or other mechanical injury is more likely. The left side of this slide just illustrates the impact of oak wilt on a northern red oak tree in Asheville, in western North Carolina. You can see dieback in the top of the crown first as it progresses lower. An example of oak wilt symptoms on a black oak leaf, or a group of black oak leaves, is provided on the right-hand side of the slide.